Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Are you in the middle of your UX design interview process, or are you just starting to apply? Whatever the case might be, today we are talking about the UX interview process. My name is Stephanie, if you guys are new here. And yeah, today I'm gonna give you guys the rundown of what to expect when you're interviewing for a UX design job. So how it's gonna work, I'm gonna run through the process that I know the best, the process that I went through to get my current job, and then I will also, at the end, include some things that are common in the UX process, just something that I didn't necessarily have in mind. So we're gonna go through it all. I'm gonna give you guys some tips on what to do, what to expect, what to say, all that good stuff. So if you guys are new here, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, join the fam. It's a good time over here. And with that, let's get into it. Typically, I would say a UX interview probably has anywhere from 3 to 7 rounds of interviews. My interview process was 4 rounds. I'm gonna go through the rounds that I went through just so I can better speak to it, but then I will include some other things you might wanna look out for. Step number 1 is the phone screen. So you've applied to the job, you're feeling good about it. Thank God you get a call back. Great. This one is a little bit more of a casual conversation because, you know, you're on the phone. It's anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes max probably. And this is just almost like a checks and balance. So a way for the recruiter to kind of compare what you put in your resume into what you're actually telling them. I did a video all about resume tips and ATS resumes versus human resumes, so make sure you check that out. I'll put that in the cards. But they have now looked at your resume. They want to see you speak to it. And they want to just confirm that you potentially could be a good fit. So they're going to ask you things about like your background, your experience, motivations for applying, like tell me about yourself, those kinds of things. That's what this screen is going to be like. And also use this time to ask them questions about the company as well, like anything you're curious about. The company culture, is it a hybrid or is it fully remote? What is the work style? What is the team that I'm going to be on? They're probably not going to know, especially if it's a big company, they're probably not going to know a ton of specifics about like the design team in this case, but they can kind of give you a sense of what the company is going to be like. The question that I loved asking was, why are you hiring for this position? Is this a growth position because the company's growing, or are you backfilling a role? It just shows. Good questions show that you're interested and that you are thinking in the way that they want. That makes sense. And compensation. So salary also might come up in these conversations. It doesn't always. I feel like 50-50 it does, but you want to be prepared in case it does. So make sure you have a salary range in mind. And that's a whole other topic about compensation and salary and negotiating, but make sure you have like a salary band in mind. And then if they do ask you, you can always turn it around on them and ask what is budgeted for this role, something along those lines. Like I've said before, and like Beyonce has told us, stay ready just in case they ask you that. So once that's done, yay, you've made it past the phone screen. Next step is going to be meeting with the hiring manager. I think this next step is probably the most critical step out of all of the steps because the hiring manager is the person that is hiring for the role. So they are most likely going to be your boss, or, you know, within that hierarchy of bosses, I guess. So this is the person that you really want to show your best work. You really want to put your best foot forward and really just show your personality. In this step, they're going to really dive in deep more into the UX design process. So they're going to ask you, explain to me your UX process. Tell me about a time that you've had an issue working on a team. All those kinds of questions. Why did you choose UX design? What's your motivation? Have you worked on a cross-functional team? Explain your goals. Why would you be a good fit for this company? Like all these kinds of things. And then what was different in my meeting is that we reviewed my portfolio in this time. I think the meeting was only 45 minutes, give or take. I knew I was only going to be able to show one project, and that is when, guys, you put your best foot forward, okay? Clap with me, okay? This is the project that you need to show your best work, your crown jewel, your baby. Like this is the one, okay? Sorry, but this is the one. Like if you get to show one, make it a good one. So I spent most of this 45 minutes talking about this project and specifically my role in it. And something that you don't want to just say like, oh, this is my journey map, or this is my affinity map, or we did interviews and we talked, like, that's fine, but they can see that. you need to speak to it more. You could say something like, we decided to do a competitive analysis versus qualitative research because we knew there was other competitors in this field, and we knew that they were doing some things well, but we knew that we could capitalize on what they were doing wrong. Something like that. Don't just like read it off like a PowerPoint. You want to obviously show the visuals, but then you have to come in with your UX design knowledge and prowess and everything that you've learned and really speak to it as a designer. Something else I'll add is be yourself. Be charismatic. Be the person that you are. Be the I was the Stephanie that I am. What you guys see in front of your face is exactly how I am at work, with my friends. Maybe I'm a little bit crazier with my friends, but you want to show your personality so they can get a sense of who you are. They'll see your work, but they also want to understand, who is this person that I'm going to be hiring potentially? Are they going to be a good fit? These are the kind of things that you also want to think about. But next step number 3 for me was, again, a little bit different. And sometimes it's a panel interview, but this one was a team interview. So I felt at this point, I was feeling pretty good, guys. I was feeling really good because I got past the hiring manager. So I'm like, okay, this could be my potential boss. And obviously they like the work that I'm doing to the point that they want to bring me in front of the team, other designers, and then the researcher, and I think the writer as well. And this one I was probably the most nervous for, because these are going to be your potential coworkers. So you want to see if you fit the vibe. And the way that this worked was there was 4 people in the interview. It's nice because I got to ask the questions first, which I never actually had an interview like that, which was really cool because it really took the pressure off of me of like, okay, what are they going to ask me? What I'm going to say? I was able to have my list of questions, make sure you're prepared with your questions of things that I wanted to ask them. So about the design process, do you guys collaborate a lot? What are some of your projects looking like? What are some of the biggest challenges when it comes to working with product management and developers, like things like that. And these are similar questions of what's your experience with this, or how would you handle that? They weren't too hard hitting. They did also really want to understand, like, how do I collaborate with others? Like, what's my collaboration style? Really just kind of get a sense of who I am as a person, how I could potentially fit in a team. Honestly, here you're just wanting to make sure that they understand that you can collaborate, that you are a nice, normal, functioning person, and that you can work with others and you can be a team player and you want to work together to get the problem solved and the goals achieved. That's really all they want to know. And again, make sure you come off as your friendly, bubbly self and show that personality. That's really what I would say about that part. Make sure you send a thank you email to everybody that you talk to. And I sent one for the recruiter, the manager, all the people that were on this team panel interview. And I think it just goes a long way, because I think more and more people are starting to do it, because before I feel like that wasn't really a thing, but it definitely goes a long way, especially because when I messaged 2 of the designers, they sent me a really nice note back, and hey, now we all work together. So try that. 4th and final step of my process was meeting with senior leadership. And so this is like anybody, it also kind of depends on the size of the company. With a startup, it could be the CEO. With a company that's 10,000 plus people, it's probably just going to be like the head of that department. And this one, okay, and at this point, guys, I was feeling really good because I was like, wow, this is the furthest I've ever made it in a job interview. And I'm at the final step, and I just need to meet with the higher ups and just see if they like me. This one was, again, very conversational. Like, I wasn't presenting anything. Similar questions before, like my motivations, tell me about yourself, all that kind of stuff you just reiterate. But this one was also, I think, more designed to see if I was going to be a good fit company-wise, like a good company culture fit, as well as if we were all kind of aligned on the same goals, and really just trying to understand my motivations for being in UX. And this is where I really touched on kind of like my own personal vision statement. And I mentioned this in my last video about what I love about UX design. Put that in the cards for you guys. That I want to help businesses do better business. And that was something that I learned as I was applying to all kinds of jobs, guys, and I applied to everything. And the more that I was talking to recruiters and taking interviews, even having informational interviews with people at different companies, I was really starting to kind of like figure out what segment I wanted to be in. And that was really just, I want to help people who have businesses do better business. And I want to use my UX design and my visual design experience to make that a reality. And I really touched on that. And I think they really resonated with that. So make sure you have something that's like your why of why are you doing this? Why are you into UX? What is your motivation? Doesn't have to be anything super, super deep. Like it's not about, you don't have to solve world hunger. Like it's something like that, but just something that people can relate to and so they can get a better understanding of who you are as a person. Yeah, like I mentioned, be charismatic, be yourself. Okay. And the 5th step is just the final wrap up. And that's either most likely from the recruiter where they'll tell you okay, great. Next steps is that you'll hear from us in this many days. And even if it's a no, we'll let you know blah, 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 blah. And hopefully the next step is that you got that goddamn job. Okay. Yes, guys. So the next step is them reaching out to you and hopefully you get that call, that email that says, you got it on lock, you got the job. That was my UX process. That was my interview process. Yeah. I also do want to mention a couple of other things that might happen to you in your process. The thing that you can experience or be ready for is a take-home assignment / design assessment. These are starting to go away a little bit because I think people are realizing that they're kind of a scam. Okay, I don't want to say scam. Scam is not the right word, but my mentor during my Springboard bootcamp really put it in a good way. It's there's a couple of stipulations. So really what it is that you get a fake scenario of some kind where you have to design to that scenario. And I want to show you guys, maybe I can show you guys some take-home assignments that I've done. You know what? That would be a good video. I think I will show that. Ooh. Maybe I'll show it and I just won't say what company it was for in case it's problematic. Coming up. Imagine you are interviewing for 10 companies and they give you 10 take-home assignments. That's nuts. And they say you're only supposed to work on it for a couple of hours. I would find when I did take-home assignments, I was putting in all my effort into it because you want it to look good. So you could end up doing a ton of work for something that's not guaranteed. And obviously there's a little bit of that when it comes to job interviewing. So I don't know, some of the ethics behind it are a whole other topic, but something to think about. And also they should be fake scenarios. There was one company, guys, that I interviewed for, and the scenario they gave me was very similar to the work that they did. And I was like, are you just getting free work off of me? Actually, God, guys, now that I remember this, I did another take-home assignment that was literally their product. And they did actually pay me for it, which I was like, okay, that's nice. I have a sneaky suspicion that you might take this work and fucking run with it, but who knows? Who's to say? Do your best with that, guys. Give yourself a strict time limit of I'm only going to spend 4 hours on this total, and that's it. Honestly, your portfolio should speak enough. So that's why I think take-home assignments are starting to go away. In case you come across it, that's how I'd handle it. Something that I kind of had, you might have more of a dedicated portfolio review. Mine was at the same time as talking with the hiring manager, but you might have a longer format where it's an hour plus and they want you to go over 1 to 2 projects, maybe 3. That's where I really recommend, like I said, having your best project be number 1, your second best number 2, and then just practice speaking to it. Like I mentioned, don't just read off okay, then we did low fidelity and then we did high fidelity. Explain the why. Just talk to it as much as you can and just give them an understanding of what was going on in your brain as you were designing it. I just want to share one more thing with you guys. It depends on where you're applying, and this really is more applicable to bigger companies. A lot of them will actually detail out what their hiring process is. So we're going to take a look at Spotify as an example and walk through what their interview process is. Okay, so you land here on their looks how-to article, how to get a job at Spotify. And, this is a blurb of things that you might need. This is a question on this is how they talk about how they find people. So something to check out, are you on these places? Instagram, LinkedIn, App Index, all these places could be something to think about. And cute graphics, where they find people, blah, blah, blah. Okay, submitting your application. Okay, so this is the part that I wanted to get to. So they have the intro interview. I'm guessing this is similar to a recruiter call. And then they have the portfolio review. The talent acquisition rep, the hiring manager, or a member of the team, which the role is open to, some is the product manager, just to give you a sense of like who's actually going to be there. And then they'll tell you, it's talking about more of like what they're looking for when you're doing a portfolio review. And then insight. So the reason I mention this is because some of them do, like I mentioned, these bigger companies do break down exactly what they're looking for. So let's say Google or Spotify is like where you really want to work. Make sure you read whatever documentation they have, because if this is what they're looking for and you're like check, hitting all their boxes, that is a great leg up for you. So I just want to mention that take a look around. Not every place is going to have this, but if they do, make sure you capitalize on it. Okay guys, that is the video. Those are my tips and tricks to kind of help you throughout this UX design process. You know, it's intimidating. It definitely is intimidating. When I first heard that interviews, like you could have 3 to 7 rounds of interviews, I was like, what? Coming from interior design, you had 1 interview and that was it, and you got the job. Like you found out later that day. So it's definitely a lot of work to get the job, but there are reasons for that. There are, you know, higher risk, higher reward kind of. Yeah, I hope these tips were helpful for you guys. I am gonna try to do more interview-based videos because I want to help you guys as much as possible. So please let me know if you have any questions. I'm so happy to answer your guys' questions and whatever I can do to help you guys out. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. And yeah, guys, with that, I will see you in the next one.